Hello Logic language learners, welcome back. Now those of you who are watching this in the order that it goes up, who are watching these videos pretty much the same week that I do them, please can you remember what I said about sending me some translation material. So send me the material either in English or in French that you would like to see translated in the translation classes. Okay, good. Apart from that, this is a really useful video for anybody. If you're new to the channel, I really recommend that you familiarise yourself with some of the techniques that we're going to be talking about today, because they are using methods that we use on this channel. If you're new to the channel, however, you're very welcome to watch this video and see if anything else interests you, but we are referring to methods that you guys who already know me will be familiar with. So, this was a video that was inspired by Ginny, and Ginny has done a lot of work to sort out her tenses. So she's done a lot of work thinking how I'm forming different tenses from English into French. Now, with the increase of the amount of listening material that I've been putting up on the channel, she has noticed that she's not as fast going from the French, recognising the tenses and going into the English. So this video is just a little reminder that all the systems you have learnt up until now, every method you've learnt, isn't just to help you going from English to French, but to help you from going to French to English. Now that seems really obvious, but let's just look how those systems will work in reverse. Okay, so I will try and give some information underneath. I'm going to try and do a little bit more subtitling now I have some more time. But let's look at the systems that we use and how we can use them. So, first things first. When we are in the present, so far we've got two systems, haven't we? So we've got the A method and the soft and the hard. Yeah? So for example, if I gave you a verb manger, yeah, you would know the A method would be that we'd go with the core, and the soft and hard we'd go with 3 softs and 3 hards. So if I gave you the verb manger again, the core, which would be removing A, would be mange. So you're hearing the end of that. So if you hear je mange, tu manges, you mange, we know what we're doing. We're in the present tense. We have 2 words. Okay? We have 2 words. Now it might be for the beginners or the people who've really just started French, or who are taking their time with it, that if I said eat to you, you would think, ooh, manger, because we all know and we all learn the long forms first. So possibly something you could do to think to yourself on this one would be, okay, I'm hearing a shorter version of the verb, bom bom, 2 sounds, so that is going to give me the present tense. Okay? So if at speed you hear a soft sound, so je vends, you can hear listening at speed that verb is soft. Now you're not going to mess up je vends, because you can hear the je. You're not going to mess up tu vends because you can hear the tu. The ones where we need to pay real close attention is the il. So if you heard il vend, okay, so instead of thinking of going from English into French, if you heard il vend, is that a soft sound on the end or a hard sound? Il vend. My mouth is staying open, it's a soft sound, so he sells. Because single soft, plural hard. So if you were to hear ils vendent, okay, I'm hearing 2 sounds present, so that would be hard, they sell. So just little tricks, okay? Let's move on. I've put the board rubber somewhere, which life will get interesting without it. So, okay, so let's just say then that the present we've got the A and the soft hard technique, okay? Now let's look at the past, and we're calling this the past. There are obviously other tenses in the past. I had spoken, I would have spoken, you probably think of as a past, even though it's a conditional, I was speaking, I used to speak, I have been speaking. There's all kinds of things going on in English. But the point is, for our purposes, what is the method that we have used so far to say the past? We have said 3 sounds, bum bum bum, with have or be in the middle. Okay, with have or be in the middle. So for example, j'ai mangé or je suis allé. Okay, for example, we've used have verbs and be verbs. So you might like to think, because I'm constantly going at you, I spoke and I have spoken is the same thing in French. When you are coming from French back into English, you hear that 3, bom bom bom. So your gut reaction should probably be, if I hear 3, action past. Now when you come to translate this, obviously you have a choice. You can say I have spoken or I spoke, the same thing. So for example, ce matin, j'ai parlé avec ma maman. This morning I spoke with my mother, or I have spoken with my mom. It doesn't matter, the choice is yours. If you heard in my life, dans ma vie, j'ai rencontré 3 Chinois. I've met 3 Chinese people. I mean, obviously I've met more than that, stupid sentence. But if you heard that, then it would be in my life, I have met 3 Chinese people. Hier, j'ai rencontré 3 Chinois. Yesterday, I met. So the point is, it's up to you when going from French into English, whether or not you think of it as I have done something or I did something. But the point is, do you need to be thinking in English anyway? No, not particularly. You know what rencontrer means, you know how it feels, you know what it's to do with. It's about people meeting, coming together. So if you hear the bum bum bum, if you hear the 3, just think past. Think the past. Okay, so you're listening to your listening and you hear me say, alors, il a pris, bum bum bum, past. Now this isn't to say that there aren't tenses that don't have 3, that aren't in the past. That didn't make sense in English. This isn't to say that there aren't other tenses that use 3 bits. So for example, he will have said, il aurait dit, he would have said, il aurait dit. Okay, and there's ways that we're going to be looking at those. But if you hear a basic bum, he has, he is, then the word. So what should we be doing here to be careful? When we all first start out, and I ask you to say, I am going, you all go, je suis, I am, no, no, no. We remember that we don't use the verb to go to be doing something. So if you hear, je suis allé, I always get, I am going. No. Because we know we don't use these verbs in the present. How many words did we have in our present again? I and then the verb, you and then the verb, he and then the verb. So at speed, when you're listening to your French and you hear them, hear the 1, 2, 3, we know that we're in the past. Okay, so past, we're going to go with the 3 for the action. Okay. Also, not a stupid idea, but the endings are going to help you, aren't they? Because if you hear fini, yeah, you know you're an ir, which has gone in the past. If you hear manger, you think, okay, same sound again, so have and an a is a past. U is very much the past, vendre, vendu, so there are things that will tell you you are in the past, okay? Or at least your compound has 3 ingredients and the last one is in the past. So now let's look at what I don't like to call the imperfect because that's grammar, but we've been calling the was tense. So what symbols what ideas have we been using with was? We've been using this a method for the was, or we've also been calling it the messy tense, because as we will talk about in just a moment, there are messy endings in the would. The endings for the would verbs are exactly the same. So for example, what I always say to my students is there's an A sound. Now you might go, oh gosh, but Luke, there's an A everywhere. There's an A in the past, j'ai mangé. There's an A in the vous mangez. The verb itself is A. That's fine, that's right, but this is the only one where you are going to hear the verb as a whole on its own with nothing else added to it and hear the A. Yeah? So for example, manger is the to form. That doesn't exist on its own. Yeah, je veux manger or je suis content de manger, but you're not going to hear manger on its own. I ate, j'ai mangé. You've got this 3 business going on again, yeah, that we were just talking about, the 3 in the past. So if you hear blank blank, je mangeait, tu mangeais, il mangeait, whatever, you will know that we're dealing with the was tense now. And I don't need you again to be thinking about was or whether it's wishy-washy or any of this business. Sorry, whether it's was, were, used to. I want you just to feel the wishy-washy. I do want you to feel wishy-washy. I want you to feel this past, but that's just ongoing descriptive. Yeah, I was talking to my mother when this happened, okay? What else do we have in the was endings? We have a, ion, ea. So this ion, again, is another clue for the messy. Now those of you that are more advanced, you'll know that the ion comes up with a subjunctive. So she wants us to dance, elle veut que nous dansions. But I'm imagining by the time you're ready and comfortable with these subjunctive verbs, you're pretty much comfortable with listening and recognising verbs. Maybe not, but that would just be something I would imagine. So if you're hearing ion and ea, think E for imperfect, although I don't like using the English, that's going to tell you again that we're in the messy tenses, okay? So for example, if you heard il coupait, how many words are you hearing? Il coupait, you're hearing 2. Now, so that should tell you that you're in a he was doing whatever was going on. If you hear the verb halved as well, next technique, you're in a soft and a hard verb, or pretty much, and you're in the was as well. So for example, if you had vendre, to sell, that we were dealing with earlier, and if you heard il vendait, now you recognise the first part from vendre, you recognise that first part. So if you hear vend and an A, if you hear this half of the verb, half of what you know, then that tells you you are in the was. Because yes, in a minute we will be looking at will and would, but as you know, anything in the will and would is going to have a r sound on it. So again, what's the verb to be able to? Pouvoir. If you half hear the verb, pouvait, you know that you're in the was. Yeah, so you have to listen for these half words with the A going on, okay? So, one more tense we need to listen out for in the past, okay? And that is the I had done something. Now straight away this makes people nervous because they hear, for example, j'avais, you go, oh yes, I had, wishy-washy, wishy-washy, j'avais, oh there's another word, j'avais mangé. So I was having eaten, no. But the fact is, this isn't too dissimilar from English. Yeah, there are times in English where you say I had a problem, so j'avais un problème, as opposed to the j'ai eu, which would be an action having. And then if I were to say I had spoken, you're adding on an extra word, j'avais parlé. So if you hear 3 ingredients again, if you hear the 3, j'avais parlé, and the one in the middle is a was, you know the whole thing is my further past. So that's what we need to be listening for with that. Equally, if you heard j'étais, oh, j'étais, I was, I know that, j'étais présent, I was present, or j'étais content, I was happy. But the fact is, if you hear j'étais and then another word, you also know you're in the had, okay? So, next one. If you've got the future, okay, so we'll just remind us about imperfects. It's the A and the eon. What's the method that we have been using? What's the method that we have been using for the future? What's the 3 sounds that we've been using to best illustrate the future? At speed, we say what? Ré, ra, ren. And if you don't quite understand what those represent, then I really recommend that you go and watch the video on the future that we did do and that is on the site, on the channel. So, Ray, you'll go, oh, hang on, I'm listening for the A again. I'm hearing this A is troublesome. I don't want to hear this A all the time. This A is confusing me. But the fact is, it's not an A, is it? It's a Ré. You're hearing a R. So I always tell people, future, which reminds me that anything in the future will have an R, yeah, in it. And the ending will be on the end of the R. So if you were hearing A in isolation, manger, danser, whatever, pouvait, you're in the was. If you're hearing ré, whatever, you're likely to be in the will. Now we'll talk about the would in a moment. If you hear ré, restaurant, or